Well, yesterday he told CNN reporters that a legacy like this is about more than cash. On Saturday, the state's Reparations Task Force approved a long list of proposals that would compensate and apologize to Black Californians for generations of discriminatory policies. It's up to lawmakers to determine what to do with those recommendations. Now, if it's approved, it could cost the state billions of dollars.
Hey there, guys. Welcome to the channel. Guys, I don't know if a lot of you guys remember because so much has happened since then, but Lori Lightfoot used to be the mayor of Chicago. And when she was an absolute tyrant. She was a true danger to the people of Chicago. And really, not just them, basically any reasonable thinking person that was ever even accidentally subjected to any of her lunacy. Well, Chicago kicked her out, and everybody was relieved. I was relieved. Everybody paying attention to what's happening and what's been happening in Chicago was relieved. They were going to pick someone new. Chicago was going to turn a corner. Well, they proved yet again two things that I think will always be true in politics, no matter what happens. The first, if you want a liberal to truly recognize how bad their ideas are, you have to get out of the way and you have to let them have exactly what it is that they ask for. And the second thing that will always be true, you will always, without fail, get exactly what you vote for. And Chicago, unfortunately, is proving that right now. You will not believe what the new Chicago mayor's proposal is to finally stop crime in Chicago. You're not going to believe it. But first, guys, if you haven't already, help our channel continue to grow. Moving into 2024, as we get deeper into this deal, it's going to be more and more difficult to get conservative voices heard. So we're going to have to do this together, guys. So please like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. Please have a look at this.
All right. Well, progressive Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson says the government has to get more involved in ending the city's out-of-control crime crisis by paying out reparations. Since Johnson took over from his predecessor, Lori Lightfoot, murders have dipped in the Windy City. But total violent crime, robbery, carjackings, aggravated battery, all up over the past year. Now claiming reparations payments to descendants of slaves, he says will help address Chicago's, quote, cycle of violence. Watch.
What I've built within these last 7 months, in order for us to have a better, stronger, and safer Chicago, it really requires the full force of government. We have stood up an entire office dedicated to reentry. So individuals who are returning to our communities who have been incarcerated because of failed policies, we'll have a welcoming space for them. I've added a $500,000 for restoration and reparations to address, again, the cycle of violence, which looks like school closings, closing of mental health facilities, of which I've invested in now. And so in order for us to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago, it requires investments. And that's what this budget has done.
Okay, Julie, let me get this straight right now. Okay, so he's asking for billions of dollars from the federal government to deal with the migrant crisis in Chicago. But let's hand out money for reparations because that's going to fix the crime problem. I'm not sure what the disconnect here is.
Okay, first of all, I'm not, a mathematician, but he is putting $100 million toward crime prevention, $500 million toward reparations. He wants to figure out how to properly compensate descendants from slaves, but he's not actually paying attention. He's ignoring the crime problem, and it's not. So basically what he's saying is that the crime problem is what? Due to all the blacks in the city, so let's pay them off and maybe they'll stop committing crimes. What is he trying to say? It's absolutely ridiculous. How about giving that money? How about giving that money to the police and actually empowering the cops? I know you're laughing.
No, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the fact that you
ridiculous. What? I mean, I hate to call, I got to call a spade a spade. It's ridiculous.
I'm sorry. Spot on. Okay.
Thank you.
High five this woman all around. She just nailed it. He literally, the only thing he said in the beginning of that SOT we played was government, because he believes that government should control everything around you. And the point of where the money's applied does imply that blacks are the problem, and if you give them some cash, they won't go rob your store. This is ridiculous. But this is what happens when you elect a socialist and you get someone who is actually a segregationist, because he's not dealing with the illegal aliens who are in these poorer neighborhoods in Chicago. He's not dealing with the effects of that. The fact that winter's coming in the Windy City, things will get worse for people who can't afford heating, people who can't afford to take care of themselves, and they don't do anything about the rising crime because they keep reducing the police force by their policy or the fact that people don't want to join the force. So who pays the price? Oh, here, what, 500 million, divide that out by the number of poor people. By the way, who gets paid?
Hand out money, yeah.
Who gets paid? Oh, I'm a black man.
I have an
Do
idea, though. I do have a sense of why he's doing this. And Carol, I'll take this to you, because basically, if you looked at the city council meeting when...
Yeah, you guys see that. Brandon Johnson thinks that reparations are going to stop crime. And honestly, that sounds more like some sort of ransom demand than anything else. And look, I try to see things from different angles, different perspectives, different points of views. When I make these videos, I try to understand why certain politicians or certain liberals, have come to such different conclusions than myself. And honestly, I've just about broken my brain trying to understand this position, and I can't. I don't know if this is another ultimate virtue signal, because he is one of the ultimate, paramount virtue signalers we have available, or if this is just truly delusional, wishful thinking. I don't know. What I do know is none of this makes sense. And David Webb, absolutely correct to be offended. There are plenty of arguments for reparations. I don't believe them. I don't support most of them. I don't support any of them, actually. But there are some reasonable arguments to be made. This is not one of them. The mayor's position, it sounds like he's saying that all black people in Chicago commit crime, and paying them is somehow going to make it stop. This is not true. This is insane to even say. What he's ignoring is that there's a very, very small number of actual criminals who are responsible for basically all of Chicago's crime. And another thing, the most important thing he's ignoring, the overwhelming majority of the victims of crime, especially violent crime in Chicago, are law-abiding black citizens, ignored by him and ignored by his party and ignored by his policies. And so this just makes no sense. This is just a clever mixture of virtue signaling and passing the buck, to someone other than himself and other than his own failures. If he wants to stop crime, you should stop being so soft on crime. I think it's insane. There's no other way to explain it but insane. It's insane to believe that you can be so soft on crime that the problem grows and then magically solve it by giving away someone else's money. It's just the pinnacle of liberal logic and complete just lunacy. And here's an idea. Maybe they should give enough reparations to every single black Chicago resident that doesn't have a criminal record, that isn't part of the crime. Give them enough that they can finally get themselves out of that insane and dangerous situation that he has perpetuated. Those are some reparations that I would support every single time. You want to do reparations? Do that. But anyway, that's all I've got, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments. And if you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. We'll see you in the next one.